Hi everyone, it's Kathy with Sycamore and Cotton, and I'm back this week with a furniture flip that I hope you'll love and 4 thrift flips that are inspired by French country. So let's get started. Today I have a little bit different project. I am refinishing this gorgeous mid-century modern solid piece, and I wanted to share it with you. I don't think I've ever shared furniture with you before. I don't do a whole lot of it, but I do refinish sometimes. Well, when I say refinish, I mean paint, usually. Sometimes I do stain. But this was a really great piece that I picked up from Marketplace, and it only had a couple of places that needed repair. I removed the veneer from that front section and underneath a drawer, and I think that was maybe the only place out of 2 or 3. And that's me crossing my fingers that I get a nice smooth repair using Bondo. Bondo is a 2-part product. You mix both parts together and mix it together really well until you get one color, and then work really fast and apply it to your product. I have shown using Bondo before in some of my other projects, but they weren't, as I recall, they weren't large furniture pieces. So you only have a few minutes to work with this because it does start to harden very fast within just a few minutes, and you just apply it to the section and do a decent job of applying it to the section. You don't want to pile it up too much because this dries so hard that if you don't get in there and start sanding it away pretty quickly, it's not going to be very easy for you to sand. And if you've got big globs on there, that'll be virtually impossible. Anyway, I think I did okay with it. I didn't have to go back and do a second follow-up with it. Sometimes I have to do that. It's a really good product. We've all heard of Bondo probably. It's used in auto repair, but now I'm finding more and more refinishers or furniture flippers are using it as well. I forgot that there were actually some places on the drawers as well. So there was one of them. I think just about every drawer had something on it. There's another. But they were just tiny places that needed just a little bit of Bondo and then a little sanding, and then I was right back to it. So as you can see here, I'm applying the paint directly to the surface. There's no priming because Fusion Paint has the primer built into it. It has the primer and the top coat built into it, and that's what I'm using. I'm using Fusion Chalk Mineral Paint in the color Everett. I love this color. It dries a little darker. I actually love it, the color it is when it's wet, even better, but the darker shade that it becomes when it dries is really nice too, and it looks really nice with the gold handles that I'm going to put back on it. I am using the same original handles for it. So I did brush on the first coat. I don't know, I just like to do that, and then once I got everything covered with one good coat, I then went over it with the roller. And this is a little small furniture roller. And it works really well. Another great thing about using Fusion Chalk Mineral Paint is that it has a built-in self-leveling agent. So you don't have to worry about using a paint roller and it leaving the dimpled marks that a paint roller typically leaves. It just left a really good finish on this one. I got a nice smooth finish. Of course, you also want to make sure that the roller you're using is a quality roller. So I did read up on that to make sure I was using good rollers when I started painting furniture. here are the handles. The top 3 drawers have this kind of handle, and this is actually the part that you grab onto. This is the outside part, and then the 2 bottom drawers have these small little knobs, 2 on each. So I washed them really well, and I brought them outside. I'm going to spray some metallic paint and primer in one by Rust-Oleum. It's oil rubbed bronze. I use this a lot as a finishing product, but I'm going to be putting gold on these rub and buff, and I want the rub and buff to have something to stick onto. I don't like the way that came out. Okay. Doesn't have to be perfect, obviously. And here it is. I'm really sorry, but I did not get a video of me putting the rub and buff on or attaching the handles, but I got a really great finish on this. I'm so happy with how it turned out. One of the things that I love about this dresser is that it's got a drawer that is sectioned off into 3 compartments. I thought that was really cool, but overall I think this turned out really well. I'm proud of it, and it's in my booth at the Emporium at 2120 for sale. Next project is using IOD stamps. I thrifted this plate a while back, just a few months ago, maybe 2 or 3. And one of the things I liked about it is it had this hanger with it. So I paid $1.99 for the plate, and the hanger, of course, was with it. Now I just have to get it off. Stretch twist it. There we go. Yay! I am going to clean it. So it's like a ceramic plate. And get that tag off. We're going to change it. I had really good luck on a set of plates that I did back in the spring, I think, using IOD products. I had painted the plates, and then I used my IOD stamps. And when I posted it on my social media, I tagged Iron Orchid Designs IOD, and lo and behold, they shared it to their page. They do that with projects that people have posted and tag them in. So if it's something that they think that the IOD customers will like, then they share it. And mine was shared. And I was so excited because I had gotten a lot of good feedback from my content using it, but then all these people who follow IOD. So I'm going to do it again and show you all what a really simple project that it was. And I'm going to start by painting the plate to off-white, or white actually, because this is what I have. This linen by Rust-Oleum. Pretty big size brush. Alright. So, no, I'm not using any primer. Unless I'm painting a surface that is slick or really shiny and high gloss, I don't usually prime anyway before using chalk paint, because chalk paint can be used without sanding and priming prior. Alright, and we'll come back after this has dried. I pulled out my hairdryer to dry the front and then flipped it over and gave a coat of paint on the back. Pulled out my hairdryer again. I repeat that process 2 more times for a total of 3 coats, and then I'm ready to go. Okay, so I have all of my paint on here. I did 3 coats. Now, I found my stamps. This is I call it the Lay Roses stamped. So you can see it's got this beautiful floral. There's this large one, two smaller ones, and then there's this text, and here and here. Unfortunately, I cannot find the one that says Blair Roses. And then there's the dragonfly, which is, I just love. So what I'm going to do is start with my larger stamp. And I'm going to start inking up my stamp. I did give 3 coats, chalk paint at Rust-Oleum linen, and then I did spray it with a clear matte spray. And I did that because my experience with my ink stamps, and these are some that I thrifted, a whole big bag for $5 a couple of years ago, and I primarily used the 2 blues that are in it, but I have found that it does run a little, so I haven't used any IOD yet. I've actually got 2 IOD ink bottles to start using on a blank stamp pad, but I haven't done those yet. So this is the only experience I have, and so rather than take a risk of my ink fading, I did the spray on it. So now I'm going to start inking up, and I don't know how much of this you're going to be able to see. Let me get that on there. And this is, as I mentioned, I've had these for at least 2 years. These ink stamps, I've got a shoebox full of them, so that's how many colors I got. I think someone had them for scrapbooking, but they're mine now, and it really helped me to get started in this. Now I want to make sure that I'm holding it in a way that I have more control. Can you see? I guess you can see better the ink here. And this pretty much fills up the inside, so it doesn't matter exactly where I place it. So I'm just going to place it very gently, and then I'm just pressing down. I always leave one hand on the stamp while I press with the other. And you want to make sure, especially, you get the little details like these little florals that go off to the side. Now there's one that went up along the edge just a little, so I wanted to make sure, and this as well went up to the edge, so I just want to make sure that I get that. Now some people will lift with putting their hand on, lift to make sure they've gotten a good image, and I feel like I have, so I'm going to go ahead and lift very carefully. And I'm very happy with how that turned out. Now this ink is wet. I'm going to dry it. Actually, since this is such a big stamp, while that's drying, I'm going to go rinse it off in the sink. So I'll be right back. The next stamp that I'm going to use is the dragonfly, and I'm going to find a couple of spots on the on the plate to put the dragonfly. Now I did get a little bit of ink around the edge, the outside edge, and I don't want that, so I will be taking that off. Let me find my wet wipes. Just want to make sure that the ink is only on the image and not on the sides of the stamp, because it will transfer to whatever you're stamping on. And of course, just be careful when you're doing this. You don't want to take the ink off of your dragonfly or whatever you're stamping. All right, I think I got that good enough. So I practiced it like right in here, and I think I'm going to put it like this, because I do want some of it coming up the sides. So I just want to make sure that I press there. It's not going to be perfect. Nothing is. All right, now I'm going to pick it up. Yeah, oh, that's okay. It's not, like I said, it's not perfect, but it's okay. So now let's put one, and this one will be a lighter one because I'm not re-inking it. Just put it like this. Because this plate has the raised edge around it, it does make a challenge in getting anything on around the edges. So I'm taking extreme caution here, but you can see as I pull the stamp up, it's still not perfect. All right. Okay, so let's
So with a project like this, I don't expect perfect. I'm taking it up. I didn't remember that I had done that. So you can see how easy it is to remove the ink, and especially since I had sprayed it with the clear matte spray, that made it very easy to do. So make sure before you ever try to do something like that to remove the ink that you have put a seal on top of it so that you can do that easily.
Well, we're going to leave it like that. I can come back with it in a little bit and
Restamp it.
So this is just to show you. Sometimes they don't work the way you hope they will.
But also the raised edge truly makes a difference in getting a nice impression with your stamp. So that's why I'm not going to worry about this too much. Again, this is going to be an aged kind of old world piece, so that's okay because we can't expect it to be, if it were truly aged and old world, we would not expect it to be perfect, and especially if it's something that's hand done.
All right, so I want to put a little more floral, and I like the ends of this floral that comes out and it's kind of wispy. I decided to put a third firefly because actually sets of 3 are more standard in design than, or odd numbered sets are more desirable and more aesthetically pleasing than even numbers.
I have more designs to put around the edge, but right now I'm just taking the stamp pad and just going all the way around to give it a blue rim around the edge of the plate, just barely getting it. It's doesn't have to be perfect. If it comes over a little bit onto the surface of the plate, that's fine. In fact, I like that. And those areas that I'm pointing to, I can come back and with the stamps and try to fill them in a little bit better, and I will do that. But right now I've kind of reached a point where I don't want to put more on until I give all of this a chance to dry.
All right, I think I'll stop here before I go overboard, which I tend to do sometimes, especially when I'm running my mouth. This will all come together, I promise. For now, we're going to take a break and let this ink dry, and I'll probably work on something else while it's drying. Here it is, unfinished, but for the sake of this video going out on time, I am going to leave it at this and show you where I am right now. I did put step 1 of the crackle on. It went on really thick because it was cold here in my workshop, and I had not used the crackle in a while, so it had thickened up. So it went on really thick. And where I was using the brush, overusing the brush to thin it out a bit, it did tend to cause the ink to fade somewhat, but that's okay. This happened with the first one as well, the first 2 that I did sometime back. So I will finish this tomorrow with step 2 and the aging wax, and then I'll show you that in next week's video. But for the sake of getting this one out tonight, I really need to stop here. But I'll also include a picture of the original as well, so you'll see it's very close right now to where it will be in the end. It just doesn't have the crackle and the aging. So make sure you stay tuned for next week. Okay, we're going to work on this finial now, and I noticed while I was cleaning it that there was a little chip in it right there. So I'm going to repair that real easily with a tiny piece of air dry clay. It just takes a tiny piece. I actually have probably 2 or 3 times more than needed, but I just apply it to that small hole that's in the finial, push it down into it, and then add just a little bit more over the top and just work and smooth it out until I have a nice smooth finish. And honestly, once I got paint on it, I could not even tell where the crack had been. All right, so this is a decorative finial that has been in my stash for a little while, and I think I'm going to paint it blue. So I've got Dusk Blue by Waverly. I'm not 100% sure how much there's in here, if there's enough in here. It definitely needs to have some water added to it. So, as it's thickened up quite a bit. And I think I'm going to mix in just a little bit darker. So what I mixed in is Suede Blue by Folk Art. Okay. Let's go to it. I really like the color that I came up with. It will dry a little darker than it is right now. And I can't even tell where I put the air dry clay. I really cannot find it. So a lot of times if you see something that's got a chip in it, air dry clay is fairly inexpensive, and as long as you keep it packaged up well, to keep it airtight, it'll last a long time. So don't shy away from maybe thrifting something if you think you could fix it the way that I just repaired this. I always have the hardest time trying to decide what colors to paint everything. That's why I watch a lot of fellow creators on YouTube, because they come up with really unique and beautiful colors to do their projects. And you know, sometimes it's something I would never even think of. So I kind of get in a box where I'm doing the same thing over and over. So we got it good and dry, and now I'm going to dab the paint on like I have done before, because it gives it some texture, and it's also easier to get down in some of these crevices that are a little challenging to reach. And of course it removes brush strokes. I'm really happy with the color that this is dried to. I just think it's a gorgeous color. I think it's befitting for this kind of, for this look. And I am going to do some dry brush of a Waverly paint in the color Plaster. It is just a really soft off-white. I just barely got any on there, so I don't have to brush it off. So I'm just going to start by just doing a dry brush all the way across it. And it highlights everything. So after I go across it in one direction, I come back and go down. That way you're able to catch the details better. When I have finished the dry brushing, I let that dry and then I turn it over and paint the bottom so that I'll have a nice finished look on the bottom as well. And here it is. I'm happy with how it turned out, but I want to hear from you on what you think about it. Do you like the colors? This is a wall pocket, galvanized wall pocket, and the galvanized look is out or on its way out, and I have had better luck selling these when they're painted and given some kind of interest to their look with transfers. So, you know I love this green paint, Everett, if you saw my last video. But actually I'm using it because I'm planning to use transfers on this. And the transfers always have pictures of ideas of how you could use the transfers, whether it be furniture or a decorative piece. And the picture that came with this specific set of transfers, they had used a piece of furniture, painted it in a dark green similar to this, and then used the transfers that I'm going to be putting on here. And they're actually a blue and white floral, which I would never have thought to apply to a green background, especially a dark green background. But when I saw the picture, I loved it, and I definitely wanted to use those transfers in this way. And I do think I'll leave the trim of the galvanized steel. I think I'll leave that showing. I don't know why, I just kind of like it like that. I have 2 coats on it, but I decided that I want to come back in and give it a textured finish so that the brush marks don't show up. Now this is Fusion, and Fusion typically has it does have a leveling component in it, but I didn't use the best brush to start with, and I think that, it does make a difference. So, and it's not bad, it's just, I can see someone using this on their front door, and with the natural sunlight and people coming in with this practically being eye level with them, I just want it to look really super nice. But 2 coats was plenty enough for full coverage. This is just a 3rd coat to get this on here and get a textured finish.
After 2 days of looking for these transfers, I finally found them, and they were exactly where I had looked at least 4 times before actually seeing them. So those things happen, but these are the transfers that I had planned on using all along. So I definitely wanted to be able to find them, but I was getting so desperate. I was starting to look through my transfers and see if, well, am I going to have to use something different? But finally I found them, and all is good.
So I do know that I'm going to have these 2 placed where they are, and I'm just going to go ahead now and attach them. Excuse me for reaching under the camera. And I'm doing this so that I feel like I'll have a better sense for where the next ones will go. So I've taped these on, and I can remove the carrier sheet or the backing on it very easily and start working on applying it.
Once the transfer is attached, you need to burnish it in with either your fingers, like I'm doing here. Just be careful. And you can also use the paper that comes with it, either that sheet that I'm using there or the clear vellum. Either one will work. Just be careful as you're rubbing it over, and don't miss this step, because it helps to make sure that you've got all of the edges of your transfer secured, and it also minimizes the lines that are around the transfer. I forgot to mention the name of this certain transfer. They are from Prima Redesign, and I threw the packet away, so I don't actually even have the name now, but I'm sure I'm hoping there are some Prima Redesign stockists or customers out there who are familiar with this design and can leave that in comments for anyone who may be interested in this transfer for their own projects. And from here, I just continue to choose which transfer to use and where to place it, and then apply it. And so here it is. How do you like it?
So I thrifted this really cute birdhouse. I love the style here, like the French country style, These are actually part of the design of it, and I don't like that. And it also has some places where the paint has worn off, and this is, it's that pressed wood stuff. So I want to put another coat of paint on it. I'm going to keep it in the color that it is. It's obviously really dirty, and so I'll be cleaning it up really well.
I decided to age it up a little more using milk paint, and this is milk paint by Sweet Pickens in the color Window Pane. And you can purchase Sweet Pickens milk paint from my friend Bailey at Reclaim Grace. I will leave a link to her website in the description. So I give one coat all over, let it dry, and then I go back and give another coat, and I didn't really get the kind of crackle that I was hoping to get on it. I did get some crackling though, but I got a lot of peeling, and that's probably because, well, for one thing, you never can predict what you'll get with milk paint. But also, I don't think that I allowed the paint enough time to thicken properly. But I worked with it. After 2 coats, this is what it was looking like. So I think one thing that caused it to react the way that it did is my paint was too thin. I didn't leave enough time for it to sit and thicken up. I think that's part of it. But I still just decided to go with it as it was, and I started, after it had dried, I took a fine grit sandpaper and just worked it over the places where the paint was chipping off pretty heavily, and just tried to get as much of that off before going to the next step, which was to apply a dark wax. Now, I didn't want it to be super dark. This is a black wax by DIY, and so I took a little bit of mineral spirits, and that's what's in that tiny little dish there, and I dipped my brush into the wax and then into the mineral spirits to thin it down. And I could have put a clear wax on prior to doing that to keep the wax from getting too dark, but I just didn't want to fool with that. Doing it a section at a time, I wipe back the dark wax with a shop towel, getting that excess off, and then I take my wet wipe to get as much off as possible. I really did not want a really dark effect on this. I was really just wanting to primarily highlight the crackling and the chipping. I do really like the crackle that I got on the base of this birdhouse. That's exactly what I was going for. But the overall darkness from the dark wax was a little bit too much for me, so then I decided to start dry brushing some of the linen from Rust-Oleum. So I went over the entire piece doing that. And I still wasn't completely happy, so I mixed up some white wax, and I know I did this backwards. I should have done the white wax and then dry brush it, but it is what it is. And I did realize that when you're trying to get an aged look, the more layers that you put on, usually the better. So I wasn't upset that I was having to go through all these steps. I hadn't, you know, from the beginning, I really thought that this birdhouse only needed to have some dry brushing. And that, you know, I quickly realized I needed to do more than that because it was more of a manufactured look that it had and not something that was aged and had been sitting maybe outside, which is what I wanted. And so yeah, I just kept going with layers until I kind of got it to where I wanted it, and then I'm not unhappy with it. It's not 100% how I had hoped, but you know, things don't always turn out that way. But I am happy with, you know, happy enough for it, put it that way. So let me know what you think.
Thanks so much for deciding to spend some time with me and watch this video. I appreciate you all more than you can know. I really, truly do. So I hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you next week.